Texas A&M is getting pushback this morning as their spring semester starts.
It comes as the university removed or modified some courses in its catalog while reviewing dozens of others that involve race and gender ideology. GMAT's Marshall Farmer joins us now to explain why some of those classes are being removed and how one Texas A&M professor is responding. Marshall?
Deanna Trent, the university has until this Friday to decide the fate of classes talking about race and gender ideology. These reviews stem from Senate Bill 37, which passed in September and requires annual reviews of course materials. The new state law, in part, requires universities to decide if courses are, quote, necessary to prepare students for civic and professional life, as well as prepare students for the workforce and betterment of society. But the law also requires courses to, quote, not endorse specific public policies, ideologies, or legislation.
Well, then that means they're guilty. This means that parents and students who have already went through these courses and now have these extraneously high student loan debt amounts to pay, that they now have ground and action to sue for one thing. You can sue for fraud. I'll explain why. If the goal is if there's no such parent that is sending their child to a school like a university, there's no such parent who's sending their kid to a university for fun. They're sending them there just to, take courses that are just pointless. Parents are assuming that their kids are going to go to these schools, receive an education that is so valuable that when it's time to graduate, there are going to be corporations literally lined up trying to hire little Johnny or little Cindy. But your kid is taking African American studies. Your kid is studying liberal arts and gender studies. There is no financial benefit in society for any of those majors. So then what are you there for? See, right now we're having it's like a student loan apocalypse because the debt, the can was just kicked down the road. The student loans never went away. The debt is still there. So now there are people who are scrambling as we speak to figure out how they're going to pay their student loan debt, and they are angry. But why are they angry? Shouldn't what you went to school for have earned you a career where, of course, you make enough where you can afford $600 or $700 or maybe even $800 a month in student loans? Your career that you're in, right? Your line of work, it nets that much where you can afford it. The answer is no. Let me ask you a question. When you're studying, let's see, what are some of these majors? Let's see here. Let's see here. Hey, Arthur, talk to me about some of these majors that Texas A&M, these woke majors. Explain to us give us some of the names of some of these subjects that they've just recently cut.
It looks like I hit snag pulling that list, but I can summarize the broader context. Texas A&M's recent cuts primarily centered on programs that dealt with topics like race, gender, and identity. Aside from the Women's and Gender Studies program, cuts often include intersectional studies or similar programs. The rationale was usually low enrollment or aligning curricula with legislative mandates. If you want a precise breakdown, let me know and I'll refine the search.
Okay, why don't you talk to me about some of these topics? Let's see here. Those programs like race, gender, and identity, what types of careers were waiting on the horizon for children for kids who graduate with degrees in those studies and those majors?
Graduates from programs focused on race, gender, and identity often pursue careers where social context, culture, and equity matter. Common paths include social work, diversity and inclusion consulting, human resources, advocacy roles in NGOs, education, or public policy. Some also go into research or academia, focusing on social justice, law, or public health. While these degrees don't always feed directly into a specific job title, they aim to position graduates in roles that deal with social dynamics and organizational change.
So basically, it sounds like these students would basically went to college and would generate $100,000 plus worth of debt on the low end just to get a degree and go into a career that they could have literally walked into with just graduating from high school.
While it's true that some roles in advocacy or social work don't require specialized degrees, the intent of these programs is typically to offer deeper expertise, whether in policy, research, or leadership within those fields. That said, the return on investment is often debated. Students absolutely should weigh whether the cost of the degree aligns with the job market.
Thank you, Arthur. Well, basically, the job market does not reflect a welcoming environment for those degrees. Those are what we would consider pointless degrees. Those degrees generate no money. And it's thinking like, what type of parents are allowing your kids to go to these schools and be scammed by teachers? Who told you to study gender studies or courses in identity and reframing? And none of these are career fields where any income can be generated. You're not providing any value to the public. Someone asked me, well, then what universities are good? Which ones are worth it? And I said, okay, go to a trade school, because there are actually businesses that are going to hire a plumber, an electrician, HVAC. There are people that do, that build homes and do surfacing with concrete. There are actual trades where they'll pay you, and they'll pay for your education, and they'll hire you for work while you're there. These other kids are just wasting away years and years and getting further and further into debt for majors that literally there's no career field where that major gives you any form of advancement. Now, there was a fake, I would say a fraudulent career field that was recently created, where you would come into something and diverse DEI majors or DEI focus in the workplace. All that stuff is new. And I'll be honest, I see everything. I think it was all just a trap. I don't think any of that stuff was ever meant to be taken seriously, which is why it's all being done away with. And you're not really hearing a whimper. Maybe a few people are complaining about losing their cushy jobs, but when you ask those people who are getting fired, so yeah, you okay, I see you have a degree in African American studies and you were hired as the DEI coordinator for this company. Okay, what did you really do? And you know what they did for a living at this company? What they did was illegal. What they did was they found legal jargon to justify not hiring people based on their skills and their character and their education and their experience, but they found legal ways to only hire certain people based on their race and sexual background instead of their character and their credentials. They found loopholes for legal discrimination against basically anyone who was straight, white, and Christian. That's illegal. And it's crazy. You go to these different schools all over the country, even some of these corporations, they all enacted the same policies. They were instructed to not hire anyone white, anyone straight, or anyone Christian. And basically Black women, gays, trans, disabled, like they wanted to put mentally handicapped people and train them to be pilots and air traffic controllers. When I tell you the left and Democrats or people on that side of the aisle are a part of a suicide cult, this is what I mean. But think about it. When you're looking at all these people who are out there protesting against nothing every single day, what did they study? They studied degrees in things like social justice, identity. They're basically going to school and they're going into debt to learn to be professional protesters. Because of the storm, I'm still in Arizona right now. And apparently there's about like different high schools all over Arizona where the kids have been walking out every day to protest against ICE. Why do you think that is? Because those are the kids who they're going to be trying to offer these courses to that don't generate any money, and they're going to want to turn your kid into a professional protester. My suggestion was just expel everyone. The kids that are walking out of class, okay, are they going to just stay? Are they going to walk out of class for the next 3 years because Trump's still going to be president tomorrow and for the next few years? ICE is going to continue to go and deport people and do their jobs for the next several years. So what's the game plan for your kid? What's little Mark or little Katie? What is their plan? If they're going to just drop out of school and become professional protesters, then you might as well just expel them and let them just sit out there every day forever. Because how are you going to pick and choose which days you're going to be out there protesting versus which days you're going to go to school? See, when I was in school, we didn't have the option. You went to school, and if you were truant too much, they would show up to your house and arrest one of your parents. Like, you cannot just ditch school because you want to. I don't care what you feel like you're doing or what kind of plans you have to go. You had to go to school. Right now, these kids they want to be professional protesters. These adults who went to school, to these universities for all this woke nonsense, they are basically, there's nothing else they can do besides be professional protesters, because there's no place that is going to hire them where they're going to say, oh, because of your degree, you're going to make more money. You're going to make the same as somebody who probably can't even speak English and only stayed in high school to the 8th grade. These are worthless degrees. In my opinion, they should have never been offered to, I would say, impressionable. Some people will say they're dumb. And some people will say they come from dumb parents. Your parents should have been smart enough to teach you to not take out student loans to study African-American studies. There's no silver lining where that would make sense. It doesn't add up. Let's take a look at some of these other ones that are pointless, shall we?
I am studying creative writing.
To a private institution for a degree that typically does not have the best return on investment.
But I have a passion for this kind of writing.
But
so
is the degree required?
Yes,
Do you have a degree?
Yeah, I have a degree
In?
liberal math.
What the fuck is liberal math? What is liberal? Do you understand this kid's parents allowed him to go to a school, and when they had you sign up for what your major is going to be, you signed up for liberal math. What is liberal math compared to general math? There's nothing where that degree is going to earn. Actually, that degree might disqualify you from a lot of places, because anyone who's hiring you with any sense is going to say, whoever sent him to this school, matter of fact, why wasn't he able to figure out that this is a moronic thing to do? You're not going to qualify. They're not going to want to hire you. These schools, the last thing they're doing is preparing children to get out here into the real world. That's why I'm a huge advocate of trade schools. At least you're entering into the workforce as early as possible. The sooner you're in, the sooner you can retire, the sooner you can understand how it is to do business. I am so grateful that I started working young. I didn't waste all my time playing sports, sitting in college year after year after year. Next thing you know, I'm 24 and I'm like the head waiter at Cheesecake Factory, and I'm going to school at night for nothing, so I can get a degree in liberal math. Come on.
We get into.
I don't know. What can you get into?
What are you studying?
Graphic communications. It's a super basic art degree.
Okay, so unemployment. Got it. We built up $75,000 of student loan debt. Say the degree one more time.
All right, study Shakespeare.
Okay. You can get a degree. Okay, this is what I mean. These schools, these top universities, we have to sue them for fraud. There's no way this is not fraud. Why do you think parents understand that they're sending their kids to school to take majors in pointless studies that are not going to yield any income in a few years? No. People are thinking their kids are going to these schools and they're going to get a degree in something worthwhile. That way they're going to be extremely valuable in the workforce. And these parents are wrong. Now, 50% of the problem is the parents. Your parents should know better. Your parents should do the research, and they're older than you. You have to be your child's parent. It shouldn't be up to the counselor. It shouldn't necessarily be up to me. You are the parent, okay? You have to know this. You have to know better than your child. But if you're letting your child walk into a trap and fall into all this debt for nothing, then you failed. I can only blame the school for half. Just like when it comes to people being scammed, I blame the person who's scamming you 50%, but the other 50% is you convincing yourself that it's not a scam and that it's actually a really good idea. So I kind of divide up responsibility. This is insane. In Texas A&M, I think they're getting out ahead of this because this is a red state. The rest of these schools in these woke areas, like on the West Coast and on the East Coast too, they're going to have to get rid of all of this trash because these kids are racking up so much debt and they're just becoming professional protesters because they're being paid to go out there because there's no one else that can pay them for anything because they don't have any skills. They wasted all those years in these colleges. No skills were generated. They didn't learn anything new that they can use to produce anything. So now they're just a weight on society. So now they blame capitalism. It's not because they have a worthless degree and they didn't make better decisions and that their parents failed them. No. It's the system. It's white people. It is, it's capitalists and greedy corporations. Get the hell out of here. You'll blame everything else besides the fact that you had a moron that married another moron and had you, and they let you go make moronic decisions as well. That is a problem. That's a huge problem. That's what I'm saying. These schools are going to have to get They're going to have to get sued for fraud. They're going to have, because we're going to have to force them to shut down these programs. And I think that something might have happened with Texas A&M for them to just see the light. Somebody must have got threatened with a lawsuit somewhere. Like, why would you give me a degree that literally has zero prospects where I'm gonna get hired, and you're expecting me to pay it back? How, when I can't get a job using the degree? It's fraud.
Shakespeare, lovely guy. What are you going to do with that?
Well, that's such a complicated question.
Oh, no.
This is where you just have to say, we come from different worlds. You're not going to understand this.
Please tell me that's not a man dressed as a woman. Not only are you a moron, but you're also mentally ill. No one is going to hire a mentally ill person at their company unless they're trying to meet a diversity quota, because this person's a liability. Also, when their strange ideology comes in contact with reality, there's going to be a conflict and a blow up, and they are probably going to sue you for discrimination or harassment or something. That's why you can't hire the woke and you can't hire the mentally ill. Now, I could be wrong. This could be a girl. What do you guys think?
We come from different worlds.
I don't know, bro. It looks like that looks like the guy from Superbad wearing a wig and glasses. That looks like McLovin in a red shirt. And I don't know if it's McLovin or not. It could be. It could not be. The point is, I'm not hiring this fucker. I'm just not doing it.
You're not going to understand this.
What do you mean?
You won't understand like the precarity and why it's really all right.
What do you mean though?
Like your reaction there was like,
I studied music composition in college. I was in the College of Arts School of Music, but I asked the job and you didn't know what to say.
So I have a lot of experience working at writing centers.
Okay.
So I could be there's availability for
That's crazy. They are offering degrees that they're going to charge money for, that if you ask someone, where can I get hired with this degree, they have no answer. So that means that there are just millions of kids going through these universities every year that are not even asking the one most obvious question, which is, who's going to hire me if I get a degree in this? So no one's asking. So what are you guys even talking about at these universities? What good is a counselor? There's no one there. Everyone's there just a career student. Is that what we're doing? Take your kids out of these woke schools until they can graduate high school, homeschool them. And once you're done homeschooling them, send them to a trade school so that they can stand a chance in the real world. This is insane.
The law does not go into detail on what ideologies are being referenced. Texas A&M's own policies require the university's president to approve courses that advocate race and gender ideology. In emails obtained by the Texas Tribune, administrators told faculty last week that around 200 different courses in the College of Arts and Sciences could be impacted. Meanwhile, the American Association of University Professors is against the changes, saying it goes beyond what state law requires.
Obviously, it's going to be someone black. That means he didn't generate the skill sets. And basically, he's being paid at this school to push victimhood. He's being there to basically chastise white kids for being born white and to make black kids feel like they're inferior and that they're oppressed and that they are basically, again, this is why your kid is wearing purple hair, hates you as their parents, are gay, and just want to go protest against nothing every day. This person right here is why your kid is never going to have children. They're not going to get married. They're not going to buy a house. They're not going to contribute to society. They want to watch it burn. Their relationship with you is strained because you're not understanding where is this all coming from. See, when you send your kid away to these schools and they come back as another person, this is why these woke liberal professors, you got to get these people away from your kids if you still want to have your kids.
These kinds of efforts to limit our discussions and to censor them, and even more damaging, basically give us the kind of talking points that they want us to say in our classroom.
As of this morning, Texas A&M has not made any public statements about the classes that are under review. The university told our sister station that deans are able to request feedback on those reviews until Friday.
It's crazy that they're offering kids worthless degrees and then they're wondering why they're being X'd out. They have to. They've served no purpose.
Texas A&M University is getting rid of its women and gender studies degree program. Students who are...
Is it me or does that guy look like the dude that plays for the Seahawks that's with Sierra, Russell Wilson? This is Russell Wilson from Universe 3255 on Rick and Morty or something.
Who are currently pursuing degrees will be allowed to complete their programs, but those courses will eventually wind down and be eliminated. This comes after controversy involving gender identity content in a children's literature course. The Texas A&M University System Board of Regents passed a policy that restricts discussions of race and gender.
I'll be honest with you. You know, people are going to say, Rico, you are way too far down the rabbit hole. But I'll say this. I think all of this was a trap. All of this was a trap to get certain people to become liberal, to become Democrats. And this was just it was all set up to just basically indoctrinate certain people, put them in a certain position, and basically force them to take a vaccine. Okay, for example, if you can convince because they just started doing all this woke stuff a couple of years before the lockdown, not very long. So if you're sending your kids to school for this woke stuff, and then in 2020, 2021, all of these huge companies, especially the government, they started telling everybody who wasn't white, who was white, that was saying, hey, we're not hiring you no more. We're going to do a push for social justice under the Biden regime. They did it in Hollywood and they did it in the government. And they said, jobs that we're going to give to people who were more qualified, who just happen to be white. We're not going to give them stuff because they're white. We're going to give it to you. But you know what? If you want to go to this university, if you want to get a job in the government making this amount of money, you know, good jobs where there's no oversight, you don't even know what you do. You got to take this shot, even if you're working from home. And people were like, if I'm working from home, why do I got to take a shot? They said, it doesn't matter. Just do it. I've seen it happen in Hollywood. I've seen it happen in the government. Now, all that DEI stuff, they just gotten rid of it all of a sudden and they fired all those people. But what they did was, it's kind of like they protected and insulated a large majority of a large segment of the white population because they were barred from getting those jobs in Hollywood and they were barred from those government jobs that would have required them to take the vaccine. Now I'm seeing all of the black people from these different woke universities. Because remember, Kamala Harris famously went to Howard and she was an AKA. So all the college educated black people, everybody was resonating with her, thinking she's a black person in college and you got to take the shot that comes with it. I'm watching them all get sick and die now. And I'm thinking this was all just a temporary hustle to get people who were a part of the most vaccine hesitant community, but was also the specific target community of the vaccine, to get them to take it. You know, I'm a part of several think tanks, and if my think tank was in charge, this was our goal, this is exactly how we would have done it. I see everything completely different than a lot of other people. You guys don't see the connections, but I study this every day. Why, or how do you all of a sudden just get rid of specialty degrees that are like expensive? And then you start thinking, well, why did you guys start even offering these in the first place? I mean, historically, you guys have never offered these types of programs because it would be fraudulent. You're basically setting these kids up for failure. There's nothing that they can do when they graduate that's going to earn them enough money to pay for these degrees. So why would you offer them to unsuspecting children who don't know any better? And now I'm watching everyone get sick and die, and I'm thinking, but mainly from one particular group. And I'm thinking this was all just a setup from the beginning. I know people in Hollywood that got jobs where they told them we were going to give this job to somebody white, but because of social justice and equity in Hollywood, we're going to give it to you. We want to give you guys a chance. It was all just a lie. They were just setting you up. You know who fell for that? Ray J. He just announced that the doctors gave him only a few more months to live. All my other friends in Hollywood that took those roles that were meant for someone else. But, you know, and I'll be honest, if you take a job based on your race, that's just as bad as somebody not offering you a job based on your race. If you knew they took the job from somebody who was more qualified, but they gave it to you to meet a diversity quota, you should feel ashamed. But because they made you take a vaccine to keep that job, well, pretty soon you're not going to feel anything at all. I don't know. I see a pattern. Some of you might, some of you won't. Again, I'm not here to win popularity contests. I'm here to just put things in perspective and just have these conversations. Sure, I want to sit here and talk about Erica Kirk and Charlie and talk about all the other things everybody else is talking about, but I don't think that serves I think it's diluted with that content, but it's stuff like this that people don't want to talk about. I don't see any other creators. That's why I'm just making this content and I'm speaking about it. It's not very popular today, but give it a year. Give it a year and there'll be a lot more people listening to this, and we'll be having these important but yet uncomfortable conversations because with most of the stuff I want to talk into, some of the things I want to talk about and discuss, it's going to make you look in the mirror, but I have to look in the mirror with you. We all have to look and re-examine ourselves and question why we did certain things and how do we keep from making the same mistakes over again, and how do we give advice to people so that they don't make them in the first place at all. The beautiful thing about what's happening now, these programs won't be around for you to even accidentally stumble upon something as idiotic as majoring and paying money for some of this. So that's a good thing. At least that's on the horizon. So do me a favor, like and subscribe, share the video. I'll be back on with another topic in about 20 minutes. America first, America only.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.